if? Hey, Chiney Agumuke, what if the Lakers' core three doesn't change? What do they become?
If the Lakers' core three doesn't change, that means everything else around them must change, meaning we all know who their big three is. We've got Russ, we've got AD, we've got LeBron, but their supporting cast has to be better. And what is the reality of this Lakers team? They were 21st, I believe, in defense, 22nd in offense. They have about half of the roster to fill up. Expect major changes from them.
Well, and then what if LeBron turns out to be one of them? Windy, what if LeBron doesn't sign an extension in August?
This is something that no one is talking about, but is obviously a big thing that could impact next season. If he doesn't extend, he plays out the year with the Lakers and tries to make the best of it, and we start counting the Cleveland Cavaliers cap space.
Okay, sign me up for that. Next, Chiney, what if Kyrie opts out next Wednesday from Brooklyn?
It might sound a little wild, but don't panic, because at the end of the day, the prize is Kevin Durant, the guy who averaged 37 and 6. I would want him to stay. And also, KD, you've been there, you've done that, you've left the team before, you've won 2 championships with Golden State. Do you want to leave again? I don't think you panic if Kyrie leaves, because Kevin Durant is good enough to attract another star to whatever city he's at. Fingers crossed, it remains Brooklyn.
All right, is the expectation that Kyrie stays in Brooklyn? I asked that question to Woj earlier this morning. Here's what he said.
I think people do expect that Kyrie Irving returns just based on the economics of it and how big of a financial hit Kyrie Irving would have to take to leave. But, you know, he probably also surprised a lot of people with his willingness to lose $17 million last year in salary because he wouldn't get vaccinated. So there is precedent for him for leaving money on the table, but this is a lot of money.
Okay, so that's what he said. Now, in the meantime, here's what I liked. Windy and I have these great conversations before we come on the air every day because neither of us has anything better to do. And Windy, you gave me a little scenario that could take place next week in the event that Kyrie opts out of his situation in Brooklyn. Tell everybody who hasn't heard it what it is.
So the Nets obviously feel like they have some leverage here because there's no team that can really offer Kyrie a comparable salary. But the one thing that you can't account for is, would Kyrie really want to go play for the Lakers and play again with LeBron James and chase a championship there, even if it's for a lot less money? Even the Nets don't know for sure if he's really willing to do that. So if he really wanted to create leverage beyond just Kevin Durant wanting him to be there, he would opt out of his contract by next Wednesday. That would be step one. And step two is he would do something to make it imply that he was interested in truly going to the Lakers, such as being seen in Los Angeles, such as taking a meeting with the Lakers, having an Instagram post, outside crypto.com arena, being on LeBron James' Instagram at his rooftop deck where he likes to take potential free agents. Something to ratchet up the pressure on the Nets, because as of right now, I just don't think that anybody truly 100% believes that he would take a $30 million pay cut, because that's what it would take to go to the Lakers. But it's still a glimmer because of the kind of decisions Kyrie has made in his career.
Okay, Chiney, but let's just live in that world. You're right there in L.A. Let's say next Thursday, on LeBron James' Instagram, there's a picture of him and Kyrie Irving, and they're lifting up their red wine glasses, and they're toasting what might be in the future. What is Chiney going to say on NBA Today?
My goodness, I'll be in LA, so maybe I'll be the first one to spot them. But what I will say is that those are some real friends that want to take care of each other, meaning they're probably playing the game, as Wendy said, to try to get that compensation right or get the situation right. Because at the end of the day, players are here for players over teams in the leagues when it comes to finances and contracts. I'm going to help you out. The only thing I really heard, maybe because I'm a 30-year-old woman, was like, this feels like you're trying to make your significant other jealous, right? The Brooklyn Nets. All right, I'm going to hang out with my ex, and we're going to look cute. How do you feel about that? We're on good terms. That's the vibes that I'm hearing, but these are the games that people play when it comes to contracts. So yeah, the reality is Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, Ben Simmons, their best interest is to see what that team is capable of this upcoming season. But in order to get the money, you do have to play games and maybe have a good little dinner date with your ex and be like, hey, y'all remember, like, you've got it good too. Even though things haven't been perfect, our relationship is worth saving.
I'm so in for all of this. So at the end of the day, Chiney, let's make a basketball question out of this. Does Kyrie Irving have a better chance of winning next year? Because if he went to the Lakers, they wouldn't have to give up anything to get him, right? He's going for the mid-level exception, right? Or exemption, which is like $6 million or something. Does he have a better chance of winning with LeBron in LA or with KD in Brooklyn next year? Chiney.
Next year, I would say that Kyrie has a better chance winning with KD in Brooklyn just because there's familiarity there. They've proven that they can be a top team when those two play together. They're 1 or 2 in the Eastern Conference standings. We all saw this past playoffs run. If you play your best basketball at the right time, which the Brooklyn Nets have not been able to do, but if they're able to get 82 games, or at least let's pray for 70 games together in the regular season, you're fresh heading to the playoffs. This is a team that adds the defensive versatility of Ben Simmons. That 3 should be able to be the best team in the East. Now, all the personalities and the puzzle fitting makes that a little complicated, but if there are no situations like we've seen in the past 3 years, his best chance is, going with familiarity versus what we experienced with the Lakers, where they have a lot of holes to fill, a new coach, new schemes. Half of the team, the roster has to be turned over. So, you have to look at those situations and realize maybe I'm good where I'm at.
All right, that's fair. So, Wendy, put a final touch on this for me here. From all the people you talk to around the league, what does everyone think is the likeliest way this scenario finishes?
That he will be a net on some sort of brokered deal where he gets more money that's guaranteed and he's protected, and that the Nets are also protected, both in a long-term, potentially short-term situation. As Chiney said, the Nets can be really good next year. I can't assume anything with Ben Simmons, but if he is able to play for them, that's a real big upgrade on their defense, which was the big thing holding them back. They also are going to get Joe Harris back. Durant is still an MVP level player. I still think that this can work out in Brooklyn, and this is just a glorified high-profile fight over money. But I will say this. Typically, the Lakers wouldn't want to be used like this, but they have so few ways to meaningfully improve. I could see them having to explore this KD flirtation, even if they know that it's not necessarily likely it would happen.
It's going to be fascinating to watch. The first move is Kyrie's. It has to be made by next Wednesday. Guys, thank you. Awesome. Again, we look forward to all the coverage of the draft tonight on ESPN and ABC. Meanwhile, we had controversy last night on ABC. PK Subban is here. It was overtime, Game 4, Stanley Cup Final, and this is how it ended. The Avalanche with a rush and a game-winning goal in overtime that gives them a commanding 3-1 series lead. But it's not nearly as simple as that, because PK, for the fans who were just waking up and joining us and have not seen it, there is controversy here because there was clearly an extra skater on the ice.
Yeah, and I had said this earlier. I think this happens almost every game, on line changes. But when you're in the Stanley Cup Final and you're playing for potentially a Stanley Cup, these things get magnified, and it got magnified last night. Big play by Colorado to get this win. Obviously going up 3-1, going back to Colorado. They got a stranglehold on this series. Tampa Bay sees their Stanley Cup, their third Stanley Cup, dwindling right now in the wind. Tampa Bay fans are upset, and I can understand it. You see the 6 man on the ice, but this happens a lot in hockey. This is part of the game. I think the refs did the right thing. Let the players decide what happened.